So there's just a quick teaser of things from my first ride that I just finished up, and we'll get to that. We'll get to my ride, but first I want to explain what Zwift is doing here, because it's kind of interesting. It's probably not as obvious as it might seem if you just jump on the map right today and start riding. I'll walk you through the routes that are available for bike and run, and then we'll go and simply ride it. You can use the YouTube chapters thing along the bottom there to drag to the section that you want. Pretty straightforward, right? So what this is Zwift is releasing their Makuri Islands. And Zwift says that these will become essentially the new Watopia. Now, Watopia is not going away, so maybe that's a bit of a weird phrasing, but ultimately, these islands will become as big as Watopia. That is their exact phrasing, that their goal is for this to rival Watopia in size and become another mainstay of the Zwift empire, if you will, somewhat appropriate in this particular case. And Yumezi, which is this first island here, this first map portion of it, is well, the first portion of it. And then from there, you'll see it expand. Now, right now, what they've released today is like a little bit bigger than Innsbruck in terms of rideability. It took me about 50 minutes to ride almost all the roads. So definitely smaller than like the France map that we saw last summer. But it's got plenty of routes in it that you can go ahead and you can make up different routes to go much longer than an hour or however long you want. So with that, let's just jump straight into the computer and I'll show you the routes that are there. You'll see here when you got loaded up, I've got the island, the Makuri Islands up there, and I can click on routes. And then here are all my routes. The Spirit Forest is the first portion of what I did on my wanderings today. But we'll go up at the top there alphabetically, and we see Chain Chomper is number 1 at 13.6 kilometers and 184 meters of elevation gain. Most of the elevation gain that you're going to see on this map comes from visiting this tree in this left-hand corner right there. That's kind of like the high point of the map, both, I guess, artistically, probably in some cases, as well as elevation-wise. Then you got Countryside Tour, 185 meters of elevation gain, again, going to that same area. The Flatland Loop is around some countryside, kind of farmlands, if you will, and that then dips down into the sea there for the Fisherman's Village. And then Kappa Quest starts off into the Fisherman's Village and then goes up the tree and back down again and back up again. And then sea to tree is exactly what it says. You start at the sea and you go to the tree. This isn't complex naming here, folks. And then Spirit Forest goes through the forest, kind of basically working its way back a few times around this loop and then ends up at that tree. And then you got the 3 village loop, which takes you from and through the 3 villages that you'll see along the map. And then we scroll on down there and we got the 2 village loop. Again, this is not complex naming here. It's very, very straightforward. There's nothing here you can't pronounce or can't not pronounce, I guess, unlike my ability to speak English today. So that is it. That is a sum total of those routes. Now you can mix and match these. So none of these are very long. You see the longest official route here is at 15.8 kilometers for the Countryside Tour, bringing around essentially the full map side there. And the reason why they wanted to create essentially a whole new island series that's not modeled after a real life location, for example, what we saw for some of the UCI courses, is that they didn't want to be like constricted by these real life locations. And they wanted something that, like Watopia, they could do whatever the heck they wanted to. And this is what we're seeing here. Now, from a running standpoint, there are a few routes as well, but no unique running pass. Like there's no run-only pass on this, at least not at this point. But I think if you watch the video through a bit, you'll see there's a couple of cases where it looks like there should be. There's some paths that cross across the street that you're like, that looks like a running path to me, but I don't see it on the map today. So any case, from a running perspective, you got the Chain Chomper, the Countryside Tour, the Flatland Loop, the Kappa Quest, the Sea to Tree, and the Spirit Forest again. These are the same routes that you saw on the bike side, except you could run on them, but just the roads though, and the gravel paths, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so with that, let's jump over to the bike. But before we do that, if you find this video interesting or useful, simply whack that like button at the bottom there, or hit subscribe. It really helps out the video and the channel quite a bit. Now for this ride, I'm just gonna basically just ride my first route. This is my first go of things, so giving you some of my thoughts as I pedal along. There's still probably plenty of secrets out there that I probably didn't notice the first time I rode past them, or things that I didn't go past because there's a couple country roads and stuff like that that I skipped. With that, let's start pedaling. Okay, so here we are starting off on this first route. You can see in the little mini map up there, we're just on that small island, and then we're gonna go from there. I believe it's a slight climb upwards. So get pedaling here. Looks like some cherry trees up on the right there. On the left on both sides of the road. Looks like we're gonna leave the island pretty quickly right across this bridge. See some of those small temples on the left-hand side there, ornamental on the edge of the bridge. Some different boats we see down below there in the village. People fishing off to the side. Bit of a tight turn there into the forest over that edge, but I think we're all right. Okay, so heading up this gravel road right here. Looks like a bit of a bamboo forest. Pretty cool effect. First time we've seen anything like this in Zwift before. Switch the camera view around a little bit. Not sure I'm pedaling that hard, but we'll go with it. Crossing over a stream, I can hear down below there, a couple more of those ornamental towers on the end of the bridges. It's a nice touch. I'm liking this gravel route. This is a bit skinnier for off-road gravel routes we typically see on Zwift, save like the mountain bike courses and stuff. Back a kilometer or two ago was a bit skinnier, but still this is nice. Doesn't feel just like a chunk of fake gravel. I like the way the plants kind of blend into it a bit. Looks a little bit nicer. Here we go up through another temple. So we can change ourselves to front as we come through this. There we go. Get a nice reveal shot. Not entirely sure what those creatures are to the right. Looks like a small bear raccoon thing. And you can see it off to the left popping up in the bush. Right there with this tail wagging. That one looked more like a coyote of sorts. And they're everywhere on this route. This would not seem like a very safe route in real life. Having those dog, wolf-like creatures up ahead on the turns on the climb reminded me of a story years ago when I was cycling in Jordan in the Middle East. And I descended down this pretty long hill, mountain, whatever, for a number of miles, kilometers, down to the Dead Sea. All was great going down, but coming back up again, there was a bunch of stray dogs that were very much not happy with my ascent. And I was on a TT bike at the time, going up a pretty long climb, and there was just simply no getting past them, and they were really angry dogs. Ironically, a eggplant truck guy came up beside me, and he spoke no English whatsoever, and I didn't speak his language, but he saw my challenge and offered for me to get in his truck, threw my bike on top of his eggplants, and up we went to the top of the climb without me getting torn apart by angry dogs. Sort of the same thing here, except no eggplant truck. Coming to this garden here, you can see some of the fog up ahead. Hope you'll get through some of that. That's something that Zwift has shown on a few of their teaser shots. So hopefully we'll get over there and go through the fog, but it is pretty cool here. I'm sure this would look even more spectacular on a higher-end graphics card. I'm running some Radeon 580s right now and a GPU, external GPU, and so it's decent, but it's definitely not what this could pull off. I sacrificed a bit of the resolution to go ahead and keep a bit higher frame rate. So exporting this or running this at 1080p on Zwift as opposed to going higher, just to be able to get that little bit smoother frame rate. still, this is pretty cool. It's definitely like one of the most scenic routes we've seen on Zwift to date. Look at all those awesome rock formations and waterfalls. There's a tree, so I think this is the tree that you can climb up to. It's on one of the routes. I think it's just called To the Tree or See the Tree or something like that. Have to go through that tree. There's another one of those dogs. Another one to the left. They're everywhere. Okay, so here's an update from future me. That's just fox. So not really wolf or dog or anything, but fox, which is kind of like a wolf and dog, but it's not. And the reason I know this is I found some behind the scenes tidbits in a folder, and this is what it looked like, and it's just titled Fox Animation. So yeah. It's pretty under the pink cherry trees. You definitely have the look of rice paddies and giant radishes by the look of it way back there. Big carrots or something. In the background throughout much of this, I think this entire ride so far, I hear like those crickets or cicada sort of sound just constantly there. That's cool, it's a nice touch. There we go, some more of the cherry trees. If you look at the very top of the buildings, there's the Zwift squirrels up there coming through this town. It's pretty cool. Just up there in gray on the top of the peaks of many of the little buildings here. Bit of an homage to the Zwift squirrel. That's a nice bonfire. We've had volcanoes before lava, but I think that's the first town bonfire I've seen in Zwift. So at this point, we're on a bit of a loop around this town, somewhat forever, which is ironic given the achievement unlocked of Can't Stop Now. So I'm gonna go and turn myself around and get back out of here, because otherwise it seems to be just sort of going around and around and around. I might actually go to the right, go down this castle path. I won't go quite all the way to the castle we were at before. We're gonna go on a bit of a shortcut down, and we'll turn from there to the sea. Looks like back onto gravel. There we go, from night to daylight. It's a cool spot to do that with the trees. You can hear the waterfalls as we go over this again. Okay, so crossing the bridge here, back to the cherry tree, right where we started at the very beginning. I will let you explore the rest of the world by yourself, and of course, it'll continue to expand over time. As mentioned earlier, as Zwift said, this is something that they plan to eventually grow to the same size as Watopia, so pretty significant. With that, enjoy and have fun exploring the new routes. See you out there. Okay, there you go, a complete look at the new Makuri Islands on Zwift. I like it, it's a good first start of things. I'm interested to see where this goes. I really like the gravel paths, I like some of the scenery. I like that I have an excuse to buy a new computer and a higher-end graphics card now to really take advantage of that. Hopefully we'll see Zwift continue to push some of those limits as well in utilizing some of the hardware too. So again, if you found this video interesting or useful, simply whack that like button at the bottom there or hit subscribe for plenty more sports technology goodness. With that, have a good one.